Alrighty. We started doing a video about an engine manufacturer, and now this is no longer about the engine manufacturer. This is about the founder of the engine manufacturer. Welcome to the Liquid Dinosaur Show. And today's announcement, real quick for you guys. Moving forward, I will no longer be referring to myself as Shadow. It will be Doc and the Ewok moving forward. Doc calls me Ewok. That's the name I got from his class, and that's what we're moving on forward. Sorry about that, guys. All right. Welcome to Liquid Dinosaur Show. Today's adventure, we're going back to 1888. And of course, on this adventure, you have Doc and the Ewok. All right, Doc, ready for this?
Yeah, let's get her done.
December 27th, 1888, a young boy would be born in Columbus, Indiana by the name of Clessie Cummins. And I'll tell you what, I'm not much for a researcher. I never have been, but I absolutely love every minute of this research. For Cummins as a whole, and learning what we have learned about Clessie himself, this guy had there was no, I don't know how to explain this. His vocabulary, no quit, was not in it.
Yeah, the man was amazing.
This is a guy that literally had the mentality of, oh yeah, I can't do it. Hold my beer, bet, check this.
True that.
He was born December 27, 1888 in Columbus, Indiana. He was, and apparently, according to Doc, around that time, and this is not the only man I have researched from this time period. I don't know what it is, but late 1800s, these guys were next level. They did not care. They wanted something, they were going to make it happen.
Yeah, and like we were saying, the amount of technology to do what they did was not there. They did it.
Which makes you ask the $1,000,000 question. If these guys were able to accomplish what they did back in the early 1900s, even late 1800s, why are we struggling now?
Yeah, true that. I mean, yeah. There's just no way to explain it.
Me and you were going back and forth the other day, and you're talking about pretty much growing up a farm, especially in Indiana, Georgia, North Carolina, all that was pretty common for these kids.
Yeah, you learned to fix everything you had. I mean, I talked to a Don householder, and he talked about when they'd spin a bearing on the Model A and have to, pull it down and put a piece of boot leather underneath it to get it to work. I mean, these guys were beyond machinists, they could fix a broken needle.
Yeah, these guys definitely, they made it work. Plus, he was like next level. Like I said, he was born December 27th, 1888 in Columbus, Indiana. He worked on his family's farm until the age of 11, where he decided, using wood molds, and some iron that he found, he made his very first own steam engine, and he built this steam engine to pump water for his family farm.
It's just mind-boggling. It totally is.
At 11. When I was 11, I was having a hard time deciding what video game I wanted to play or what friends I wanted to hang out with, or if I wanted to hang out with friends.
That's
and
true.
This guy's over here building stuff from scratch.
Yep. With wood bolts.
I mean, I wouldn't insult Clessie like that comparing me to him, because, well, I'm nothing like he was.
This is true.
I could pretend all I want, though. Well, so at age 11, realizing that I like this mechanical stuff, he left the farm to go pursue being a mechanic at 11. And this is 1898. Again, 11 years old. I'm trying to decide if I want to hang out with friends or not. He decided to say, peace out, fam.
Yeah, I'm going to become a mechanic and further my trade.
And he did. He was doing off kind of just random jobs, mechanical, just working on stuff, fixing stuff for farmers until he landed an actual mechanic job with, let me check my notes here to make sure I get this right, Norkel and Marmon, the Marmon Motor Company.
Yeah.
Which turns out is one of the first original luxury cars for America back in that time. I couldn't figure out the actual specs and everything of what engines they were using, but I'm assuming back in that time period, they were probably using steam engines or even like early generation gasoline engines.
Yeah. Probably the early gas, but I mean, we're talking about the Fords were around. So it would be probably the early versions of the automobile, because You know, even though it shows Ford is the first one doing it, there are a lot of people out there spinning gas engines and et cetera. It was as they get going on to make them better.
Yeah, well, where Ford gets their uh, name to fame is the first assembly line.
Yeah,
If you want to get technical, the Dodge brothers had Ford beat in time.
says from 1903 to 33, Marmon Company manufactured 110,000 cars. So
That's it.
1903, yeah. But then it went on to, and that's a different history we'll touch on. But this is where he
What
was
and
playing with mechanics, and you know they were very reliable. It says, and gas powered.
so they were gas powered. They weren't steam
Yeah,
because they weren't the first original cars steam powered.
yeah, they
Okay,
were.
then then in 1908 is when he met William J. Irwin, and sooner we met his nephew, which I don't know why I can't remember the nephew's name.
Yeah,
J. Irwin Miller. Those names are going to come very important because this is a multiple part series. We're just touching off Clessie today,
yeah,
but keep those two names in mind because they will come back up a lot.
definitely.
So in
Well, you know,
1908, he decided. Go for it, Doc.
I was thinking, I don't know what the tie-in is, but with this Marmon automobile, we find out later that Marmon also built semi. They were the heavy-duty truck. You had Brockway Autocar, Marmon, you know, so you got some serious history behind a lot of these companies.
Well, Clessie definitely made his way into a lot of different things.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
And that's going to be a video for another day because we're focused literally on this guy's.
Right.
Well, yeah, you had William J. Erling, then you had J. Irwin Miller. These guys were financiers. These guys had money.
Yeah.
And William, even in all the research and everything, William and J. Irwin had such a great relationship with Clessie. And when they first met him, they were just so mind blown with his ability to engineer and to be a mechanic. He was a
Yeah,
part-time chauffeur for the Irwin family, and he was a part-time mechanic.
exactly.
And
Worked on
then,
his own surefire car.
in 1911, okay, so yeah, in 1911, through a friend of the Marmon Motor Company, he met Ray Huron, which is a race car driver. And
Yeah.
because of what Clessie was able to do and just the way his mind thought, he took the Marmon Wasp, which was Ray Huron's car for the first ever Indy 500 in 1919. Clessie was over here like, no, dude, we need to focus on handling and speed. And that's what he did. He even put a rear view mirror in this car, which was the first of it for the Indy 500 period, which I'm pretty sure Clessie, him being a mechanic and engineer, I'm sure he was a hell of a smart aleck too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like, hey, let's put a rear view mirror in this car just so you can see see the competition behind you. Would be my
Yeah.
guess. We don't know that for sure, but it sounds good.
It definitely, it sounds, why is it running like this? You can just about envision him stepping out of the car and, there we go. Well,
That's
that's
it.
for his automobile, but I mean, even at the race car, he could probably hear, wait a minute, something ain't right here.
And we really see that later in his life.
Yeah,
I mean, he's going at this the way I go at performance. It's let's see what happens.
definitely. Yeah, it's,
And
when we talk about performance, you look at it like in today's standards, but in them standards back then, performance was a different thing. It was, yeah, we got to get this to do this exactly at this time with this dwell angle, with this, and, without
well,
going into,
I'm just gonna throw this at you, Doc. See if you agree with it. So we look at performance as high horsepower, high mile per hour. Back then, they looked at performance of no, this thing needs to perform 100% correctly right now.
all the time with fuel mileage, with blah de blah.
He's not worried about putting power on the wheels. He's worried about that engine running as efficient as possible. And that's what he's
Exactly.
worried about.
Exactly.
And I totally forgot where I was going at with that. I'm started going off of just my opinions about this guy. I've never been more inspired. I mean, I started doing, you'll hear this name later. We'll do a video on him, but Rudolf Diesel, the creator of the diesel engine.
Yeah.
that guy was inspiring, but Clessie is on a whole other level.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't like reading books. It's just, I never have, ADHD. That's why we're doing this education stuff.
Yeah.
But I had a hard time reading the book, but every minute I was looking into, like, I started doing the Cummins history, and I was getting so intrigued by it. Then I started looking at Clessie, and it was rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and it was non-stop. And now I got like 12 pages worth of stuff.
Well, yeah, he touched a lot of things that are still currently in use.
And, for early next, see, a lot of stuff he did makes even new stuff look bad.
Well, yeah, like we said, the ability to machine something back then, he was far in advance. And we're talking about a guy that did not have an engineering degree.
Yeah, he literally had 8th grade education, then he bounced.
Yeah.
Which, again, wasn't very uncommon for that time.
No, it
and
wasn't.
It's something that, me being 30 years old, I'm not going to be able to fathom this. Grew up a whole different time. And, doing all the research and everything, back then, it literally was, we're either going to do this or we're not.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're like, we're not even going to think about the not, we're going to make this happen. And he did. It was literally his determination, his innovation skills, his engineering skills, and his mechanic ability. And I would also give credit to knowing the right people at the right time.
Absolutely. That would be the next thing. Because he had to sell this vision to other people, too. So he had to be a salesman then, too.
He did it with his skill.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and when he couldn't prove it on paper or anything, it just, come here, let's go to the parking lot. Let's go for a drive. Let's go for a ride. Look at this.
Yeah, pretty much. And, meeting the Irwins and everything, being a part-time mechanic and so forth for them, he really started showing these guys what he can do. And then taking an Indy 500 car, the very first race, and winning it. And Clessie was given all the credit for it.
Yeah.
I would have just loved to have been a fly on the wall just in any of those conversations.
Well, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And, the Marmon Wasp won. It won its very first one. Even having a 2.5-mile brick track, it still won.
Yeah.
And then,
well, yeah, and it didn't have, on top of that, it didn't have racing slicks, and it didn't have aerodynamics, and it didn't have all of this other stuff, Yeah.
But then, and the other side of this, so yeah, can't use words today. Ray Garon's team won. And even Ray gives credit to his team.
Yeah.
And, Doc, what do we also learn? Who financially backed this winning team?
Well, I can't remember. Don't throw so much. Throw it toward me here. Help me.
It was William G. Irwin.
Yes, exactly. So talk about being in-house. Yeah, at that time, he didn't have to sell anything to Irwin. Irwin was like, oh, here, how many do you want?
Well, it literally was like, because he was a chauffeur for him and a part-time mechanic. He's like, okay, I know what you can do. Now let's see what really you can do.
Yeah. And this was
and then
another thing on this Marmon engine and this Marmon Wasp. It was something he didn't build, but he perfected.
But also, what we also found between when he met him in 1908 to 1919, we're missing a few years there. We're missing like a decade worth of stuff right there.
Yeah.
We found out in 1915, him and Irwin in Irwin's garage are building gasoline engines for agriculture.
Yeah.
He's sitting there fixing farmers' equipment, building engines for these guys.
Yeah. So he wasn't just sitting around doodling off. He was busy doing what he does.
And then, Williams coming up to him like, you want to know what? Here's 10 grand. What? And, 1919, Cummins Engines manufacturing was formed.
Exactly.
Which, 10 grand doesn't seem like a lot of money. But this is 1919. $10,000 now is equivalent to $180,000 in today's terms.
Exactly.
And then, 1918, due to a Dutch manufacturing company, RMHVID, HVID? What did we find out?
It's
actually
what
HVID?
they called the name. Yeah, it's Dutch.
Well, what did you say the RM stands for? You said it was a really weird name.
It's Rasmus is what it is. His
Okay,
name is
so yeah.
Rasmus Vid, so they put RM as his initials. And his Vid was the inventor of this thing, but he took this thing and, beyond. And what it ended up to be with this HVID engine was that this was taken, once again, we're going to bounce back to a little bit of what Rudolf Diesel did and a little bit of everything else, to take a fuel and to be able to combust it with compression. So, yeah, we have Cummins who took this and went beyond everything that we can imagine. And we'll talk a little bit about this in further shows. But then you got, okay, this guy here, he's built this, and then Cummins looks and says, hey, hold my beer.
Well, back then it probably was hold my whiskey.
Yeah. And, the grades of fuel, diesel fuel, were so low back then. I mean, to get it to burn, that was back when they say you could throw a match in it and it wouldn't burn. It was just basically, cold honey or something. But to take that grade of fuel and to get it to work with combustion and compression was once again a step into the future.
What in the 4-stroke process, what stroke do we call it that really ignites the fuel?
The compression stroke.
Or also known as trying to make a Ford joke.
Squeeze.
Well, the power stroke.
Well, yeah. Well, you look at it as this is coming up, these engines had to have such high compression. We're talking about, okay, they didn't have that much compression back then. Horse poo. They had to have it because in the movement of compression, that piston is coming up, it's creating heat, but that had to be injected at the proper time for that to go into the power stroke, as you said. If we didn't get the right amount of squeeze when that injected into there, that fuel would not do anything but create black smoke out the tailpipe.
Yeah, but we're also talking like 22-to-1 compression back then.
Absolutely. So, and this injector on this thing, like we did in the previous show, was a single hole squirt. That's it, Jack, So you're talking about the timing of the engine, the crankshaft, the camshaft, the piston, and everything had to be optimal. So these guys are figuring out, all right, it can't be 20 degrees. It's got to be 21 degrees. It's got to be 18 degrees. It's got to be, you know what I mean? So the process of R&D, or research and development on this thing, was, process of elimination and trial and error.
Plus, and that's just the engine. Rudolf Diesel went through a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to get too much into it because that's going to be a whole other rabbit hole. I've done a lot of research on him too, and that guy, I don't know. It's a toss-up. I'm still voting Clessie on this one. But we'll do a Rudolf Diesel video. But back to Clessie. In 1918, him and William went over to the Netherlands to RM, what you call it, Havid?
Havid, yeah.
Okay, it's going to take me a minute. I just have been calling it HVID. I'm not going to lie, but Havid. But they went over to them to actually do a demonstration in-house with RM Havid. And they got the contract to be a licensed dealer for America, which is one of the very first, I would say one of the very first deals.
Yeah.
And then now that made me wonder, how'd they get that approved by Commerce?
Yeah.
This was early 1900s. I'm sure it's not like it is now. I'm pretty sure that it's... And then we find out that William J. Irwin is the director for the Commerce Department for the United States.
Sure that. Yeah, it just blows your mind when you pull this all together and start looking at it.
And it's just, like I said, and that's why we said earlier, he had the skill, he had the knowledge, and he knew what he was doing, and he met the right people at the right time.
Yeah.
Well, as we found out, it wasn't all good.
No.
And William and even J. Irwin Miller had such a great relationship with Clessie, but then because of the RM Havid engine, they decided to go to Sears and start selling it through their catalog. But I've seen some early 1900 Sears catalogs. You could buy almost anything there. So in a way, I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was.
Yeah,
I
there's
just,
a lot of old folks that talk about buying their tractors through Sears.
right? Like 80D brake, really, seriously, like, I could just imagine going through Sears catalog, like, okay, well, I can get a Thompson submachine gun, a Browning BAR. Oh, look, Cummins engine. Oh, tractor? Oh, I need a new dishwasher. Early version dishwashers. That's a cool, interesting little laundry machine.
Yeah,
Huh.
exactly.
Like, just like a 30-page catalog of just random stuff you can buy, like, really?
Exactly.
All right, back to topic here. So they went to Sears to get on the catalog and everything, and what they found out is, and this is kind of where they had some issues. This is where Cummins was really starting to see an issue. Actually, no, they didn't even go to catalog yet. My bad. Let's backtrack here. So Clessie, after selling the HVID, the HVID engine for a while, decided, you want to what? I'm going to build a whole new engine. And he did, which was, sorry guys, I got to go through my notes here. I just want to make sure I get the right information here, which was the Model
F
U, wasn't
engine,
it?
Model F
Wasn't it
engine in
F?
1920.
You sure?
Yeah, it says created his own Model F engine in 1921.
Yep. Okay, so it was 1921. So, and because of the Model F and everything, William decided to give Clessie $100,000 for the Model F production, which in today's term is $1.8 million. But in doing so, that ended their contract agreement with the RM Havid company.
But during that time period, Cummins, Clessie went ahead and patented his own. He had 30 products and processes patented by 19...
And he got 2 out of 33
Yeah.
by 1921.
Yeah.
So back to the Sears thing. So he was selling this Model F engine through Sears. Farmers would buy them and beat the ever-living dog crap out of these engines and then return them after a year. That's
Yeah.
bad for business.
No. Well, then
For the
he was also building them for marine use at that time. So he covered a broad range of everybody. Automotive, diesel, well, not automotive. Diesel, not diesel.
Well, he was, because since 1915, him and William were doing gas engines for farmers and agriculture.
Yeah, so they were
And
covering
he was still
agriculture.
doing that.
Yeah, agriculture and marine and like you said, Sears and Roebuck.
Yeah, but so after the whole Model F thing, this is a second time that we found out, which we're going to cover some of it because we have the other, when we get into the Cummins history, we're going to fill in the gaps here. So in Clessie and William's relationship, this is the second time to record that William has actually had to get mad with Clessie that we know of on record. The first time is when he outgrew William's garage because of the gasoline engines.
Yeah.
And he said, no, you got to get out of my garage. And so they created their very first production plant. And is it in Columbus, Indiana still?
It sure
So
is.
that was the first time. And now here's the second time. It's, okay, William went to Clessie and said, you need to focus on reliability and durability. And Clessie's over here like, hold on, fam. Hold on. Let's think about this. Not only does agriculture suck, and now we got this problem, not only am I going to worry about dependable reliability, I'm going to chase the on-highway market.
Yeah.
This guy's over here like, hold on, let's take this crap situation and let's turn it around.
Well, then in that time period there also, after 1919, the bank threatened to liquidate him because they didn't think he was doing anything, and they installed their diesel engine in cars and proved them wrong. And, so then it was like...
But we're getting into that. So, in 1919, Cummins Engine Manufacturing was formed, and that covers the first page.
The first bank of notes.
Yeah, I'm telling you guys, we have a lot of notes. And, Clessie was a busy dude. Between designing his own engines from scratch, which apparently the first one was all aluminum.
Yeah. Well, the one in the car was, all aluminum. That process alone in foundry and like we say, once again, machining this stuff, and a lot of this was done with, who knows, I'd have to really research to find out what kind of machines were used back then. A lot of it was by hand and by file and by, you know what I mean? Didn't have the electric drills and the hones and et cetera that we do.
Right? Everything was mechanical.
Yeah.
This guy is just next level.
Well, when they threatened to liquidate him, he installed that diesel in a car, which was unheard
Well, that
of.
was 1926 because just the way the market was going. So he decided to take a Packard. I think it was, he took a Model F in a 1926 Packard. This was the second time he was trying to do an actual automotive partnership. And by the time he got this done, or was that 31? Nope, that was 31. My bad. Getting ahead of myself. To try to prove that agriculture needed to be stepped away and get onto the on-road market, he took the 1926 Packard and dropped the Model F into it. And he drove 800 miles.
Yeah. On how much was the gas he used?
Like $1.30 something.
Of course, what $1.30 back then would have been equivalent of $100 maybe.
Still better fuel economy we get today.
Well, no kidding. No
Think
kidding.
about that. And then at the same time, in 1931, we found out he was testing his Model U in Indy.
With his patented direct injection design.
Right. Going back to notes here, he logged 13,535 miles at Indy Motor Speedway testing the Model U. So he's building engines, he's putting engines in cars, dealing with reliability and dependability, and he's doing track testing at the same time.
Yeah.
This guy is psychotic. Love it. 100% love it. But this guy is next level psychotic.
Yeah, this is true.
So what else do we got?
Well, then it was the same thing. He put that Model U in the truck, as we later find out. But then at the same time, back to 1931, at the same time, he had the Model A in the Indy car. He had two of them. Yeah.
No, the first one. No, this is the first round. So it finished 13th. It was the only diesel in the Indy 500. And spoiler alert, Cummins is the only manufacturer to get kicked out of Indy.
Yeah, because he didn't drive a pit stop. And he used 31 gallons. He used 31 gallons of fuel.
Right. This guy, man, just is next level. I can't get over it.
Well, and then on top of that, he loaded that race car on his truck with that Model U engine and went to L.A. New York to L.A.
And seriously, and he's still doing Indy, too, with all this going on.
Yeah.
But let's recap here a little bit. Age 11, built a steam engine from scratch using wood molds and iron that he found for a freaking steam engine for a water pump for the family farm. Decides, hey, to hell with farming, leaves his family farm. Supposed to be does odd end mechanic jobs. Gets in with the Marmon Company. Meets William Irving in 1908. He's a chauffeur while still working for the Marmon Company. Be a chauffeur and a mechanic for these guys. So this guy, and then he goes and joins the Indy pit crew. Is on a winning team. Starts an engine company. Goes over to the Netherlands. Makes it one of the very first international trade deals.
Yeah.
Comes back, redesigns that engine to make it more efficient, and gets 2 out of 33 patents, decides to have a flop with Sears, comes back, puts all these engines into a car, which, as we learned for the Ram history, this was not, he wasn't even ahead of Ram. They didn't do that till 39. He did this in 26. He beat them by over a decade. In a car. Not a pickup, a car.
That is true.
And we're only to 31.
Yeah, and there's so much more information in there, you know.
Well, really, the only thing we really need to talk about before we get to even all the other stuff is 35.
Yeah.
When he decided to do what? He decided to do his second automotive partnership with the Auburn Motor Company, which he decided to take a Model 8 and an Auburn 851 sedan which had a top speed of 90 miles an hour and 40 miles to the gallon. 40 miles to the gallon in 1935?
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's 90 miles an hour, but do you realize how heavy that car had to be?
This is true.
Seriously. That car had to be heavy.
Well, it said that was the one that he had the aluminum engine in.
Still, the car had to be heavy. It's made out of steel.
Let's see, what did its mine say? Yes.
And basically everything back in the 50s, all the way up to the 60s, anything that would be made out of plastic today was made out of metal then.
Yeah.
You look up how heavy that car is?
Yeah, I had a note on it here.
I just can't get over the fact that 40 miles a gallon back in 35. And we're struggling to get that now with lighter cars and better technology.
Yeah.
Just saying, I'm putting it out there. And then now we're going to skip. Well, yeah, 1934, he went back to Indy and put 2 diesel cars in there. That didn't finish the race because, drivetrain issues, which seems to be the issue with Cummins.
Yeah.
Refer back to the Ram video. Just saying. Just saying. And then, then we get World War II that started in 39. In 1942, he decides to leave Cummins for the first time, which William Irwin ends up being the president of Cummins. Again, we're going to go over that in the next part of this video. We're literally focusing on Clessie this time. What was Clessie doing in 1942?
I was only helping the war effort.
He decided to join. He was on the war board in 1942, making sure that the U.S. had equipment, trucks, generators, all sorts of stuff. And I'm pretty sure he was helping Kohler with that too.
Yeah.
Which Kohler is a different video, but I just want to make that out there. Like this guy wasn't busy enough.
Yeah, no kidding.
Constantly traveling, constantly innovating, constantly trying to focus strictly on fuel economy and performance. Again, performance being different than what we're used to.
And then on top of that, helping with the war effort and, whatever he did with, weapons development, fuel.
Well, let's talk about it. 1942, what else did we get? We got the first generation Arctic Snowcat that Clessie designed using 2, I think it was a Model A.
Yeah.
It's either a Model A or an Model H, but either way, it was 250 horsepower engines. And this was in 42? Talk about a busy dude. This guy, man, next level.
Yeah, and a lot of reasoning behind that was because of the kerfuffle over in Europe and everything with the snows and whatnot,
Well, the Snowcat was built for Antarctica.
Yeah, but then you stop and think about its use in the battlefields and stuff. That there was an alternate.
You think if we go digging enough, we can see if they put armor on it, put some guns on it?
Probably.
Wouldn't surprise me. Probably. I don't know. That's just a side thought. But and then he comes back after the war and just focuses on engine development, efficiency, and everything until 1955. Due to a near T-bone miss with a freaking train, he decides to leave Cummins to go start Cummins Enterprises, all because he was like, hold on, I need this truck to stop better. Guy almost dies. And instead of being like, oh, I need to take a step back, this is to get me killed. It's, no, how can I get this truck to stop better? Comes out and patents, in 1957, patents the compression engine brake, which we know as Jake brake.
That everybody runs.
That's funny because he developed that in 1955, patented in 57. Cummins Enterprises started at this point. 1961, Jacobs brake is created with the help of Clessie.
Well, and then another thing that drove that was when they did their cross country with the truck, when they were coming down, and this was before freeways and whatnot.
You're coming down the mountain, and the truck wouldn't stop, and then the train was coming, and he barely missed it.
Yeah, and it didn't have no whoa. Had all kinds of go, but no whoa.
And that's what made him decide to do that. The guy almost dies. And instead of being like, oh, let's take a step back, no, we got to make this thing stop better. Instead of using the truck brakes, let's figure out how the engine to do it.
The engine can do it, exactly.
And this is at 55. 55. That's crazy.
Yes,
I am
it is.
just so mind blown. And keep in mind, at this point, he is still focusing on Indy. He is still doing engine development, and he's still doing all these cross country trips.
Yeah. Proving his products work.
And Doc, the other thing we forgot to mention, he's been married at this point, and he's got 6 kids.
Yeah.
He had managed to find time to have a wife, keep her happy, keep family and business life separate, have 6 kids on top of all of this.
Yeah.
This guy's got time management figured out.
Yeah. Well, and then as we will touch into in the future, the kids were just as instrumental in the business as he was.
I'm pretty well convinced that when the kids finally died off is when the company started getting more about
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
And I haven't quite proved it yet, but I'm working on it. There's 3 kids of his that I'm 100% convinced created the B5.9 that we have grown to love.
True
Because
that.
Clessie designed the first one.
The 6-cylinder. Yeah.
The one that see 675, I believe. I will correct that if I'm wrong. He created that engine. And I'm pretty sure his kids took that platform and made it better. I haven't fully found the research to back it up yet, but I am working on it.
Well, let's go touch a little bit more on the fuel system before we step away. That PT system lasted how long? From when he
Decades?
first designed it to, wasn't it also on the N14? Yes, it was.
Why do you do this to me?
What did the PT system stand for? It was pressure, time. Remember we talked about how the gears and everything had to come together? You went from
Yeah.
pressure time to pressure C, pressure injection C. So you had all of these systems that came from Clessie's first one, his
Well, if you want to go
original.
off of that, then his fuel system's still in service today because they use them on the AP on the.
Absolutely. The system, I mean, the only thing that drove that PT system off of the automotive and the other ones, and it's still part of it, was the fact that they didn't meet emissions, but yet they could only get 40 miles per gallon.
Yeah, but in Cummins in '91 was. I mean, you got me so messed up I can't even talk right now. Let's try this again. '91, Cummins comes out with the C-Elect system to combat emissions. They led emissions.
Yes.
And
Far
then
in
the EPA
advance.
turns around and sues them.
True that.
Now, thanks for the rabbit hole. We'll go more into that into the next part. But to finish out Clessie's life, from patenting the engine brake to Jacob's brake in '61, his kids came out and said that he was in his garage working on boats, working on tractors.
Everything.
Because he's been fully retired from Cummins at this point since '55. And, he's spending time with his kids, building stuff, doing boats, doing tractors, doing everything he can. And he was innovating until 1968.
Yeah.
Doctor, what happened in 1968? Why did Clessie stop innovating?
He died.
And he died on August 7, 1968. This
That's
guy
true.
was innovating, creating, designing, building up until he died. The Reaper had to come get him to stop it.
True that. So, yeah.
I'm doing stuff for this channel, researching a lot of people. I have never met somebody, I haven't read anything about somebody like this. Even listening to a couple other YouTubers talk about World War II histories, I am anywhere from mid 1800s to 80s. People are on some other kind of level, man.
Well, let me throw this one out, and I'll leave the names off. But that Packard is still in Columbus, Indiana, in the museum. But they pulled that out a few years back to run it in the parade. When Cummins turned, I think it was 200 years old or whatever it was.
100 years for 2019?
Yeah. So they pulled it out to do it in the parade. When they pulled it out, they couldn't get it running because there was nobody in the engineering fuel system anywhere that understood the fuel system of that engine except one. I won't name the name, but he had to go back and get the thing running because he was one of them that helped with Clessie on that. fuel system, and he understood it. So he got it running and was able to drive it around the block. So that's just amazing that the technology of that far exceeded anything that the modern engineers could even, imagine.
I just can't believe it still runs.
Yes, it does. Look it up. It does.
Yeah, but didn't you also say that the engineer that did that also was the one who certified you?
Yeah, he was a Cummins certifier. He would certify the trainers for Cummins. And he retired a couple, 3 times, and they had nobody that could certify the certifiers. So they brought him back, and he was an amazing man. That's all I got to say is that there won't be many more like him when he's gone, and he may be gone now. So,
But think about that, what that means for like me.
yeah,
I was trained. Yeah, I had experience prior to UTI and going through your class, but you're the one who certified me in Cummins.
yeah, absolutely.
That's
And
like, that's all. That's just insane to think about.
that's to touch a little bit on that. You didn't just go through Cummins engines, and just because you graduated, you were certified. You had to be certified by a Cummins certified trainer. And that's where this is tied in at. I retired, and they're still doing that at UTI, but I certified from 2010 through 2021, 11 years of it. I certified trainers, and not all of them got certifications because there was a strict set of requirements that had to be met. And that's when we talk about the test outs and stuff like that. The certain reason why we do that is because it met a set of requirements that Cummins had.
Which that just means my certification just means so much more to me. And going through Clessie's past and everything he did, and just the drive this guy had, I've never been more proud to support Cummins than I am now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And knowing that I have certs from Cummins that came from you, it's a whole new meaning now.
I appreciate it. I really do.
And this research was a lot of fun.
It was. It was.
I was starting to drive the wife nuts with it.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it's once you hit a couple of them rabbit holes, it's like it got you.
Literally. And what started this rabbit hole was, where was it? So I literally went through Cummins history on their website and started writing everything down. And then it was the War Department. In 1942, I was like, wait, hold on. You go from 42 to 55, and it's like Clessie retires from Cummins. Like, hold on, backtrack here. Okay,
Through
so,
that.
and before I even did any research on Clessie, I didn't know anything about him. Not even a little bit. Going through the history and everything, it's like, okay, so you had a guy in a financial baker. That's cool and everything. No, these guys were like homies. These guys were bros.
Yeah.
This is literally a friendship that is, I'm almost willing to bet you, because before I even got into this last little bit of research, I was making jokes about Clessie bullying Irwin into this.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what happened. I bet you
Oh,
these
yeah.
two were competing with each other.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
look, I bet you can't do this.
Yeah. One had the money and one had the knowledge.
And it turned into a very beautiful thing that's still a global leader. These guys were
Yeah.
global leaders from the beginning.
Exactly.
And, in the next part of this video, when we start talking about it a little bit more, even William was kind of he was a straight up gangster too. I mean, like you remember here looking that up in the Cummins history, right?
Oh, yeah.
He bullied his sisters into buying the company back out, keep it an independent engine manufacturer. Come on, that's pretty impressive.
That is, and to keep that, and you got to, like you said, he had to, wait a minute, Dad started this, and we're continuing this, and then we're going to get it back, and we're going to continue this, and this is going to go.
Well, that was William that did that. That was William and his nephew that kept it going, and it's literally like, hold on, this is my homie, this is my brother from another mother, this is my dude.
Yeah.
We're not going to let anybody else come into this, and he didn't.
Exactly.
You're talking about two guys that you had one guy that had a vision and a dream, and another guy that saw that vision and dream that pushed it to what it is today.
True. So absolutely.
This was a lot of fun.
This one was.
Yeah, this one, holy crap.
So
Got
I was
anything else
looking.
to add to that?
No, I'm good.
All right, sign it out, Doc.
This has been the Liquid Dinosaur Show talking about Clessie Cummins. Like, follow, let us know what you think of this. This was an amazing show. We enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed doing it. Even though it's kind of second nature, you forget about some of the stuff people go through to do this. So we'd definitely like for you to like and follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, on wherever we're at, Patreon. Follow us and enjoy.
Yep. And of course, after this multiple part series, we will have a Patreon special just about this where we'll kind of fill in some other stuff and we'll talk about kind of behind the scenes of it.
Absolutely.
And of course, share it with people. Let's get this channel building a little bit.
You bet.
All right. Appreciate you guys.